Hello everyone, welcome to a new video series called Introduction for Sculpting in Blender 2.9. In this video series I will teach you the basics of sculpting in Blender. So let's begin. So first of all I will activate the screencast so you can see my shortcuts, and then I will select the default cube, press Ctrl 3 and subdivide it 5 times so I have enough subdivisions. Then I will go to sculpting mode and I will teach you, first of all, I will teach you the navigation in sculpt mode. So middle mouse button, we will orbit around an object. Then shift plus middle mouse button, it will pan our object. Then control plus middle mouse and move up and down, it will zoom in and out of our object. So then now I'm going to activate X symmetry just to have it nicer, and I will explain you the main brushes I use in Blender. Here I have, if I press Q in my interface, I have my quick favorites with the main brushes I use, so I don't have to go and click every time. So if you go to one of the brushes that you use very often, you can right click on it and then assign it to quick favorites. In this case I already have it, so it says remove, but here you can see add to quick favorites. So now I will explain you these brushes that I have here that are the main ones that I use in Blender for sculpting. So the first one, it's called the draw brush, and it's very useful to build up volume very quickly. So here, if I want to make like skull, I can very quickly add and remove volume. So one thing that I forgot to mention, it's when you use your brush, so you select your brush and then with your tablet you press on your tablet, you do the positive of the brush. Then if you hold Control and then left click on your mouse or press on your tablet, you do the opposite, the inverse of what you do with the regular brush. So in this case, left click or pressing down pushes the mesh outward. With the Control, it pushes it inward. So next brush that I use very often, it's called the Draw Sharp brush, and it's very useful to add details. Like for example, if I want to start to carve in a mouth, for example, in this character, I can use the Draw Sharp brush. The good thing about this brush is that compared to there's another brush called the Crease brush that it's kind of useful, but this one pinches the mesh, so you can also do these kind of things, but it pinches the mesh inside. So sometimes you kind of want this effect that it pinches the mesh where you apply the pressure, but other times you just want to have like a very sharp and clean cut, and this is very useful for that. So for adding details like drawing on the surface or you doing wrinkles, all these kind of types, this brush is very useful. Next one in the list is the grab brush. This is like the bread and butter of like sculpting basically. With these ones you can move very large amounts, so you can change your proportions like here very quickly. For example, I can do a very elongated face very quickly, and I can push and pull the mesh around very quickly, so I can pull out a nose if I want very quickly, move this down, make him very sad. So this is the draw brush. This is like, I would say, the most important one, together with the next one I'm going to talk about, which is my favorite brush, and it's the clay strip brush. Before in Blender it was not so good, but since Pablo de Barro updated the brush, now it's very nice. This brush is very good to build up volume. For example, if I want to make some saggy eyes here, maybe I don't have enough resolution, but I can quickly add volume, so it's very useful to quickly add and build volume, and then with the smooth brush you can go over and create very nice shapes with this brush. This is my favorite brush to build the anatomy of my characters, also in general just to sculpt, to build shapes and build form. It's my favorite brush for that. Sometimes you gotta be careful, because in this case, for example here, if you don't have enough mesh resolution, it creates kind of like artifacts, because it stretches the mesh quite a lot. But then what you can do is, in Blender you can use the zero mesh. If you press Shift R, you see this kind of grid that it tells you the resolution, so which square it's like the quad, the size of your quad or your face. And then when you select the resolution you want, you can press Ctrl R, and then it remeshes your mesh. So now I have more resolution to work with it, so I can create smaller shapes and work on secondary details like so. So the next brush would be the snake hook brush. This is a very useful brush to create extremities, or like horns, for example. So if I want this character to have some horns, I can just pull with this mesh some horns like so. Also this works very well in combination with Dyntopo, that I will talk about in the next videos. I will explain you the different workflows for sculpting, like Dyntopo and Remesh and the multi-res resolution. I will explain you the advantages, the disadvantages, and what workflow is useful for what, and when you should use one or the other, and the limitations of each one. So the next brush would be the scrape brush. This is very useful to create hard surface, sculpt hard surface, because you can create very clean shapes. But I also use it for organic shapes, to create the plane changes. It's very useful when you're starting to block out your character. If you want to establish the plane changes in your character, you can use this brush to create some nice plane changes, and then smooth it out and work the form with the clay buildup. But it's a very nice brush that I use quite often to create these plane changes, to make them more obvious, or to make stylized characters when you want to make some stylized forms. This works very well. Next up is the Crease brush that I talked before about. It's kind of like the same that the Draw Sharp brush, but as I said before, it pinches the mesh. But it's very useful to create wrinkles. For example, if I want to create wrinkles under the eyes, here I could use the Crease brush, and I could create some wrinkles very quickly. Here I'm kind of like sculpting randomly. This looks like not so nice. But in the next videos I will do some demonstrations of how I use these brushes in a more concise example. So with that would be the main brushes. In future videos I will explain you new brushes that came with the new updates in Blender with the 2.9 version, but these are the main ones I use for sculpting. So in the next video I will explain you all about the different workflows for sculpting, Dyntopo, Voxel Remesh, and Multires modifier. So until next time, I will see you around. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye bye.